Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Monday, everyone. It is February 2nd, I think it is. I literally just looked at the date. February 2nd, 2026. Yeah. Pardon me, 4:48 on the clock as I speak. I hope that you are doing well at the top of this week. Staying warm, staying cool, whichever applies, if not a little bit of both. And speaking to that effect, I heard a word to share, which is just simply relax. Everything is under control. I repeat, relax. Everything is under control. Relax. Everything is under control. Now, maybe not your control, but everything is being handled according to your greatest good. I should say in accordance with your greatest good. So relax. No worries. All right. So let's just get right into it. Let's see what we got here. Oh, by the way, so it said, I think today's Groundhog Day, and apparently, what's his name? Puxatony Phil saw his shadow, or didn't, whichever it is, that means 6 more weeks of winter. So, there's that. But like I said before, there could be 6 more weeks of cold winter, perhaps, but the signs of springtime are already budding. So again, no worries. Everything is under control. Whether it be 6 more weeks of winter or early spring in spirit and in truth, no matter. Everything is under control. And I'd like to add to that, it's also not, it's under control, not by those that assume to have omnipotence or all power and all control, unjustifiably or without appointment to do so. It's under control by a force that is governing overall, if you know what I mean. So anything that falls under that authority, especially that wishes to operate against that authority, is ultimately rendered useless or unproductive, ineffective, I guess I should say. Four of Cups. Yeah. Five of Wands. Some type of conflict about a missed opportunity. Maybe some type of argument or fight about a mixed opportunity amongst some elite group. Here we go. Perhaps the fight for control. There was a missed opportunity to assume control by some type of, I'll say, exclusive group. Maybe not so much elite as much as they may think that they are. Again, there's an assumption of control here by way of position or access or influence, but mainly position and title. But there's so much inner fighting and inner conflict to pretty much be like the head one in charge, that there's opportunities to evolve, to grow, to be fulfilled, or an opportunity to be purely fulfilled has been forfeited here. So it's like there was a forfeit of something that would be more satisfying for this fight for power, ego, fight of power struggle here, where everybody pretty much either is fighting for a position or has a position and is, attacking in a position where they either need to. This is more so a attack more than it is defensive, I would say, over some type of financial advancement. Some folks want, there's been some fighting about either trying to take ownership or governance over an estate, but it's given that the estate is not assigned to the folks that are fighting over it. I hear conservatorship off the top of my head. I hear that it's somebody else's funds that other people are fighting to take ownership of. Now, what the hell? And it's like there was an offering for this to cease, or I hear cease and desist. That's what I hear. But there was some type of offering, like for folks to just dismantle, disassemble, disassociate, like shut it down. Everybody go to your respective corners. There's nothing to fight for here because nobody's getting it. But there was no heed to that directive. So there is still a commence of conflict here. There still, meanwhile, still is no access to whatever this is legally, justifiably, because a Hierophant can be like a judge. And with the Queen of Pentacles, that's someone that has been united with their fortune. She has that pentacle in her lap, or that pentacle at least is where it belongs with the Queen of Pentacles. An account that is secured, an account that, again, is specifically assigned. It's locked down like Fort Knox. Ain't nobody getting into that, or nobody's going to lay claim to it or have access to it that isn't given permission to do so. And maybe there was an opportunity before to have gained access, but no, maybe not. I don't know. Let's say, what else after this Queen of Pentacles? Justice, yeah, it's locked down. It's protected by who it rightfully belongs to or is assigned to. And the Hierophant is like an honorable judge, and something, justice that is fairly served, that is actuated, I guess might be the word. So with that being like the sides of this, that being on the sides of this Queen of Pentacles, this to me is just signifying like extra protection on the front end, the back end, however, like all vulnerable. Exactly. Yeah, as vulnerable as it may appear by way of this Nine of Pentacles, it's extremely protected yet again. And also signifies something being highly self-protected, like someone being aware of their vulnerabilities, or the things where they can potentially be maybe vulnerable for attack, and preemptively maybe establishing a firm line of protection, boundaries, security. This could be practically, it could be spiritually, definitely heavy on the spiritual though, for sure. But given we have Pentacles here with the Queen and the 9, that's almost the 10. I mean, it could be the 10 with the Queen and the 9 here. That's just someone that you would think is not aware of their portfolio, let's say their estate, what they have, what they're worth, what they're spending, what they're earning, what their risks are. Like, would think that somebody might be financially either insecure or ignorant, maybe. I don't know why. That I'm saying that because of the assumption that something is penetrable here by these energies on this side, and even whatever is coming up on the back end as well. It's like there's this assumption that it's an easy lick, like you could just get in, like taking candy from a baby, and it's just not, it ain't that. Whether somebody has security measures established in the physical sense, the material sense, or spiritual, and or both, it's not like a open and shut heist type of situation. You're not going to easily penetrate this force field, whatever it is. Could be an opportunity that's being protected. Could be a gift. Maybe even just sheerly someone's groundedness or sense of personal security. Definitely could be self-esteem. There could be attacks that are being launched from the outside in, or things that may arise that would stand to be oppositional to someone's personal security, or the security of something, like something that you could depend on, rely on. And it's saying to me, I mean, connected, I'm almost forgetting how I started this, like, relax. Everything is under control. If the center point is the Queen of Pentacles, segue to the 9, look at all the surrounding energy that even depicts to be an energy different from the feminine force that we see there. I'm not saying that the Queen of Pentacles or the 9 has to absolutely be a woman or a female, but what I'm saying is the depiction of differences. And the card says to me once again that there's something greater or outside of self that is more covering and protective than even what someone can do for themselves, or what a thing can be for itself, or a place can be by itself. There's like a special covering over something or someone. It's like trying to go to the bank and make a withdrawal on an account that your name is not on, you don't have to have authorization for, and even taking a step further, maybe even to present oneself with some type of false identification, or to even have some type of inside influence to hack the system, no matter, regardless of identification or assignment. It would be something in alignment that, like how they have like a try to do something electronically and get blocked by some type of verification process, or again, the identity aspect, the security feature that doesn't allow for mischievous break-ins or infiltrations, but it not being known that layer of protection is erected. Or for some may even be arrogant enough here with the Five of Wands to feel that they can, not listening to their intuition or to spirit clearly, thinking that they can override a certain authority or a security measure anyway for their own agenda. Gonna be some disappointments. Let's see. I think the missed opportunity here. Yeah, I was just about to say, I think the missed opportunity here with the Four of Cups is where someone fell short of where, collective energies, whether together or separated, missed the moment to cultivate their own, again, fulfillment. That's what it comes down to. They chose, they made a hazy choice or hazy decision here. Or their judgment was, there's like an impairment of judgment here with the Seven of Cups, where someone, like, the clear choice, the clear option, the pure option presented itself, and someone rejected that, declined that, and then they found themselves, thrust into an abyss of options, most of which are not good or not ideal, I'll say. And it could also be the confusion that has ensued or will on account of this rejection, or this like being like kicked out or pushed out of something. Where folks felt like they at least had a decent shot at a thing, equally, so much that it was worth fighting for, to now being put in a position here at the Seven of Cups where it's like, where do you even go from here? Is like the stakes are so much higher to make a positive choice in the Seven of Cups than they are at the Four, where it was kind of, handpicked for you almost. Now it's like folks are left up, or someone is left to kind of sift through the illusions that they ultimately have kind of created for themselves, like maybe their own delusions. I don't know, something here with the Seven of Cups. Perhaps even on just how to move forward at this point, after having, like, imagine giving all you, or giving a great deal of effort towards something that you felt would be a sure shot or would yield a definite return, only for it not to do so. And now it's like, but all your eggs were in that basket. Now kicked out to procure a new array of choices, or to choose from a procured array of choices, but it's not quite, it's like choosing the lesser of certain evils here. And really, it reflects back to me that really the only true choice is back to the original one, but now someone has kind of clouded their their auric field so much that the maybe it's hard to kind of discern what that choice is now. It's like not having any support or any help. You know, there's the grace is gone, for that hand that was, from that hand that was offering something more fulfilling. Now it's kind of like, all right, for in some instances, I feel how the cards are looking to me. It's like, all right, you didn't want what I had. Well, go figure it out on your own. Good luck. Imagine that. You didn't like what I had to offer. Go find your own way. Go find your own cup. And someone finding out that their options are even though the options may seem plentiful, is actually like almost having too much to manage. Like sometimes when you got too much to choose from, it can be overwhelming. And more or less, like well, it depends on what we're talking about here, but for something serious, when you feel like there's a particular pressure for a specific choice, or the most favorable choice to be made to put you in the best position, but you don't really know what that is. You can't really see the forest for the trees on that choice, because there's so many options. There's so many things fighting for your attention, drawing your energy toward it. And it's like, what? And nothing is presenting itself. And nothing really, you can't really trust what you're seeing in front of you to be presenting itself in its most authentic form, because of the headspace that you're in, maybe the emotional space that you're in. So maybe that's the cloud of judgment, where the emotional state, perhaps on account of losing leverage here in a serious way, has now hoisted someone into a confused state. This is definitely giving light to some emotional, like some type of emotional fracture or spiritual fracture or insecurity, where you just don't even know if you can trust your own judgment. And if you don't necessarily feel like you have a connection to that grace, like I was talking about earlier, that force that is vying for you even when you don't know how to, or don't know that you even need to. That's what I'm seeing here, like a disconnection from that covering that someone may have taken for granted before. When they had it, they didn't appreciate it, they didn't accept it, they didn't value it, they didn't respect it. So now they get to experience the absence of it. And it's overwhelming, to say the least. It's interesting because, like, on a broader scale, it's like wanting so bad to have like full control, almost wanted to force control over a situation where you may or may not have been authorized to assert control, in some ways, in some ways and shapes and forms, or where control may have been limited to some degree. It's like pushing that boundary to almost force yourself into power in a way, or in a position that, again, you're not given permission to occupy, or in a space that you're not given permission to occupy. And now you're completely outcasted from access altogether. And you would never imagine, it's like somebody prioritized their personal power over divine co-creation or collaboration, like no deference to anything outside of themselves or any power outside of themselves at all. So certainly no real integration of it, you know. And so it may have seemed to those that were in a particular position at one point in time that there was no need for this collaborative connection of power. Like, I don't need to defer to spirit. I don't need to, like, I'm God all by myself. There's nothing higher than me. Anything I want to happen, you know. I'm seeing Diddy when he got off that phone call and went crazy, like, I want it, I get it, like, yes, I'm a monster, I'll get what I want, like that type of energy. So you thought you was bigger than the program, bigger than the universe, bigger than God? Okay. Well, let me see what you can do without me. I know what I could do without you. I could find somebody else willing and able. But what can you do in your own power with no deference and no acceptance of anything else? And now a person at this point would be begging for the simplicity of this moment here, where they may have felt it was missing something or lacking something before. Now they would pay for a circumstance such as this, where they may have felt restricted. They actually may, in hindsight, now see that it was there was more support. It was more supportive and directive, not controlling, just supportive and directive, and catering to the needs of the spirit that, as I said, you may not even know some may not even know that they need, or things that they're not sure, that they're unaware is needed to satisfy and nurture the spirit of a man, because it's been set aside and disregarded for so long. And then to only find out, like, that all you needed was just that one cup. You ain't even need the 3. You damn sure don't need all these 7. All you would have needed was the 1, and you'd be cool. Page of Cups. No, they getting it now. They might realize it now. But it's like having to get to the obvious, or back to the beginning of innocence, wanting to get back to that point of innocence. And even that, that's the desire here at this point, like, just to simplify things. But there's so much conflict created that it's hard. Like, like, you can't even, because even still, like, say this Page of Cups is the choice that was made, there's still a fish in that cup. So it's like this still comes with some type of consequence, or something extra, like more than what you bargained for, type of thing, where it was just pure water, pure nourishment, pure spirit there. It's like you get the cup, and there's more than likely water in it, but there's something else to account for as well, and that might not even be something that is desirable. And the thing is, like, at this point, with, like I said, the lesser of the evils, that still might be the standout choice from the seven. The purest that you can possibly get at this point, but there's still a problem because there's a fish in there. So it's like, even if someone would to get all the way back down to one, as far as choices are concerned, it still wouldn't be without challenge at this point. So what I'm seeing is, like, back to the whole force and entry or intrusion into some spaces, not that they're not welcome or someone's not, whatever that is. The Page of Cups could be, what did I just hear? Oh, I was hearing something more practical, like someone having to kind of take a deal to secure their innocence. But the deal, like, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to get all the time, or the worst of the prosecution or persecution in question. I may get a little, get some time shaved off or get some type of leniency, but there's still something to be paid or considered here with this Page of Cups. So, like, somebody choosing to kind of, like, you know, cooperate, let's say, in a case or in some type of investigation that also incriminates them to some degree, if not holistically. It's like somebody still wouldn't get off scot-free at this point, but they would be better off for the choice that they made, for the best possible choice that they could have made, than they would be to not make one at all or to make the wrong one, I would say. But that's how skewed, was skewed the right word? I don't think so. But skewed, I think, is actually more limited, but I'll say skewed are the positive outcome, the positive choice, the choices for positive outcome here are skewed, I would say. Like, there's really only one that a person can make, maybe two, just barely, that would put them in the best possible situation that still would not feel like a total win. It might still feel like a compromise or some type of loss or lack, but hell, be better than going to jail, let's say, perhaps, or taking all the blame, for something that's happened, or being guilty to the point of, no, to the too far, to the point of no redemption, in a sense of, but there's never really no redemption, but you know what I mean, like, too far gone. Like, imagine a deal coming being presented to you, but you don't take it because you actually feel like you, again, beat the system or beat the case. That might be something about it here. Somebody thinks that they got enough support or protection, or their legal team is strong enough to beat a case, without them having to plead guilty or to incriminate themselves. But that would probably be one of the lesser choices here, I would say. Yeah, that's what I'm getting, because there's too much mounted evidence. Even the most innocent projection of of an alibi, or someone's what's the right word? What did I just want to say? The most, I lost it. An alibi, or like your innocence would still not be without some fault, if you get me. It's like somebody's in a position at this point where they've are way too far gone past defense. That's what I think I was trying to say. Like, whatever your defense may be, there's no defense strong enough for someone to claim themselves to be completely innocent. It's like there still would be some evidence that would render someone guilty in some regard, even if it's by association. So even that has a consequence or an effect, like cause and effect of justice. Like, either way, someone is going to have to answer for something. So to me, is given, you would want to do it voluntarily, you would want to do it on your own terms, as opposed to being processed in a way that you have less control over, and even more limited, even an even more limited outcome. Because if someone forfeits an opportunity to make a deal, under the pretense of their guiltiness, let's say, or some type of involvement here, they might do better doing that, even though it means that they're admitting some level of guilt, than they would fight in the case, and proven to be not guilty or innocent of whatever this is. It doesn't even have to be like some official legal thing. It could even be spiritual. It could be social. It could be whatever. But somebody is not in a position to prove their innocence beyond a reasonable doubt, because it's just not true. There's too much connecting evidence there that would refute it. So to fight against it means, like this, when they offer you that deal, I've learned this the hard way, not me personally, but through association, unfortunately. I've learned the system that when they give you the deal, and I'm not saying that everybody should take the deal, because you shouldn't, because if you're innocent, then perhaps it's worth fighting for your liberation completely, or exoneration. But I'm talking about somebody that know that their hands are not clean, and they want to try to fight the case because the deal is not to their liking. It's not palatable. It doesn't feel good. It still feels like, they're getting the short end of the stick, and they are, but not unjustifiably, and still even more mercifully than if they were to be tried on their own, processed through the system like, normally. So somebody could take their chance and see what happens. However, what I'm saying is that it wouldn't look good on the other side. Like, what I was going to say, I didn't finish the thought, is that you don't take that deal that often seems like, what? That's what you're trying to give me? Is bullshit, especially if you don't feel like you deserve it. But then if you do, there's that part too. But if you go to trial, if you pursue your, if you really stand your ground on your innocence, but are found guilty anyway, the time is going to be so much worse, most likely. The deal usually is far more lenient than the convicted sentence. And that's a word right there in itself. The deal to confess is often far more lenient than the sentence for conviction. The sentence post-eviction. Conviction. I ain't say eviction for no reason, though. I don't know where that fits in. Interesting. Chariot. Yeah, because it's like the Hierophant will prevail in the end. In this case, the Hierophant to me is given like the order, the structure, the moral code, you know, what is upright, what can be upheld in the court of law will ultimately prevail. And it's far stronger than this Page of Cups looks to me. It's like a strong case against someone that they may not even know, because the Page of Cups got his back turned looking at these Seven of Cups, maybe still trying to figure a way out, you know, or thinking that they have figured a way out. But meanwhile, a case is so strong that is really quite merciful for a deal to be offered in the first place. And I feel like the deals is mainly being offered to connect the associations, or like say this is like a big sting, or a big some type of big investigation it was, or something, and there were many parts or many people, or there was, you know, something is multi-layered, but there's somebody that's been caught up, or a few that have been caught up in such a web that they don't really have much of an out. So like I said, they can either blow the whistle on the operation, which would ultimately solidify the case and expand it to all parties involved, like everyone that was, you know, involved in colluding in something will be tried equally and fairly, or one man can take the rap. Now, it would probably make for a better case for the justice system, or whomever is on the prosecuting side, the persecuting side, if we're talking spiritually, to string everybody up accordingly that's involved. And I feel, as I'm saying that, because spiritually that happens regardless. Like, that spirit don't need no help to do all that. But if we're talking about something more natural, you know, an actual case or something, it would make someone cooperating would definitely help fortify a case to the point where, you know, it's ironclad for the others. You know, maybe others would be harder to implicate, or harder to, you know, incriminate, or really to indict, I would say, than one particular person might be, you know. But with their cooperation, the whole operation goes down. So that's the choice that someone might actually be faced with. You take this deal, but you got to talk and give us everything that we want until we're satisfied, or you can have your day in court, and we're still going to go after the whole operation in our own time. You would just be helping us do it a little bit faster and efficiently. That's what is given. Damn. So somebody's still faced with being like a snitch or not. Whether they care or not is really more so about the value of their testimony at this point, which it seems like there's a question mark about whether or not the deal that they are facing or considering is worth all the backlash that they would get for what they have to do for it. And here it is, like I said, with the Chariot, it's like the case is strong no matter what, whether somebody talks or they don't. Everybody that is implicated will ultimately have their day in court, whether it be physical or spiritual. And you're going to do your time. Damn, look at this. 5 of Pentacles. Yeah, like you're going to do your time regardless, Again, whether it's physical or spiritual. So what did I say? That confession is key. Because it's not a matter of like, anybody getting off scot-free here. Yeah. Justice is swift and fierce in this case, and is not letting up with this Knight of Wands. It's not really too sentimental or really even too empathetic to anybody's sob story or poor excuses is what I'm getting here. It's like if you were there, if you were involved, if you participated, if you supported, if you're implicated or associated in any way, there's a price to pay. You could pay it up front or you could pay it on the back end. You pay it up front, most likely it'll be, at a lesser it'll be a lesser debt than if someone tells you, if you withhold and now someone's coming back to tell you, oh no, this is what I require, like restitution or whatever. Is going, like, tax is going to be added to it. Two more. I don't even know what this is, to be honest. I'm like, okay. Or jail time. And maybe in jail time. I was a magician that popped in and out. That's too many, but that's the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles. So it's like they're trying to manifest a way out, a miracle, pretty much. A new cup, some type of like extended life, or again, leniency, grace. That the Ace of Cups feels like mercy, grace, leniency, sympathy, pardon. The Ace of Pentacles, forgiveness also. The Ace of Pentacles is like provision, some type of some supernatural sense of security. Like even though the circumstances are bleak, someone wants to be able to manifest some type of like a golden ticket or get out of jail free card. Yeah, that too. Like a token to release themselves, but a big one, like a big buyout, payout, or some type of favor or circumstance that liberates them by the skin of their teeth, maybe even to negotiate, a better deal at a higher price, maybe offering something that they think would be more valuable than what's being asked, in exchange for a better deal. Maybe even in exchange for like immunity, or immunity, that's what they want. Yeah. No, not in this case. Like I said, it's like there's no way that somebody can just, somebody can't talk their way into immunity in this case, because, like I said, they have too much dirt on their hands. Like it would be valuable for a person to take a deal, for this justice or whatever is on the line here, for them to take a deal and help the case, out more efficiently than it would be without them. But like I said, it's an open and shut case, so it seems, or a strong one, I'll say. Let's say a strong case. So what someone's being offered, if they try to play hardball and say, well, I got all this information, I got all this, I could give you this and that, this person, that person, dates, times, whatever, like they might be able to run down the whole scheme, behind the scenes, top of the ladder, bottom of the ladder, everybody involved. So there's, with receipts. But they feel like that's worth so much more than just some time shaved off or a little bit of leniency, or, like they want to be completely exonerated, completely free, or immune to any type of prosecution, because they feel like their witness, their testimony, their intel is invaluable, or highly valuable, at least in that regard. And it's like, someone's far too implicated to get off scot-free. And even with all the other information that they could provide and would provide, it still wouldn't be worth total immunity, because a debt needs to be paid by them as well. And again, the grace and mercy of a discounted debt is already too kind. So if someone refuses to cooperate, or to talk, or to confess, or to, testify truthfully, whatever the case may be, then they'll just meet their justifiable fate, which would ultimately be some heartbreaking sentence of incarceration in some way, shape, or form. Again, this could be physically, this could be spiritually, but it's heartbreaking. It's traumatic. It's not something that anyone would want to accept, or it would be something very hard to accept the truth of at the Three of Swords. Like, really, all this time? 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, like I said, way more than what they would have gotten if they had chosen to cooperate, or chosen to confess, or do the right thing ultimately. So there it is. Like, somebody is facing, the two-faced choice of doing the right thing and completely, incriminating themselves by way of confession, because once you confess to be guilty, you are, there ain't no turning back from that, versus taking their day in court, holding out, fingers crossed, prayers up for a chance in hell that they might just get off scot-free. But the other side of that is a worse sentence. But it's like what someone chooses to take, is pivotal. The choice that's made is certainly pivotal. And like I said, it has consequences on either side. Because once you are guilty, you're guilty. Once you profess to be guilty, ain't no going back on that, really. But if you spend all your energy, your time, your money, your resources trying to prove an innocence that isn't even true, only yet to be proven, guilty in the end, oh man, that sentence is going to be harsh, because you had every opportunity to do the right thing, to do the honorable thing, and you didn't, or someone or some folks didn't. They missed their chance, maybe missed multiple chances to almost exonerate themselves or liberate themselves from some type of binding or, you know, some type of trouble that just went way too far or went on for way too long. Really tried to push some boundaries and, you know, push against the system in a way that it feels like very arrogantly pushing against certain boundaries here, recklessly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let me see what's on the bottom here. Oh, Nine of Swords. I guess, yeah. I mean, this could be someone in the thought process of the great, you know, challenge this choice presents. These choices present, or I guess this choice, because you can only make one. Finding that there's no real silver lining here for whomever is in contemplation of this. But like I said, there is a lesser of the evils. Let's see, one more in the world. It's over. Like, ooh, is that the sun too? Yep. Yeah. It's really like a challenge for someone to accept that this is where they are now. There is no plan. There is no, you know, plan C or door number 3 or option, you know, that miraculous option. It's time for there to be closure brought to something, maybe even closure to this case or this issue. You know, it's like you can't keep dragging a case on forever. Like, you know, when you get a deal from the state or the just whatever, you know, however it is, you don't have forever to deliberate. It's usually a very limited time that you have to decide what you're going to do before a choice is made for you. And that's either the point that someone is at now where a decision has to be made, or they've deliberated too long, again, to the point where it's now out of their hands. You know, it's been called to a close at this point with the World card. Like, there is no more deliberation. Now you get what is decreed, whether that be divinely, universally, or legally. Case closed. It's time for this case to finally be settled. And that could generally more, you know, to expand the message, you know, the scope a bit, could just be it's time for the settlement of these intrusive energies that are just poking themselves in places and spaces that they are not authorized to be in, no matter what it is. It's time for justice to be served on account of those that have been impacted by such intrusions and delusions of grandeur at that. For people to finally be put in their place, you know, properly put in the place of the power they actually possess, which is your own choice, not someone else's, but your own. Can't interfere with somebody else's life path or someone else's fortune or fate or favor. That's off limits. But you can have a direct impact on what gets to happen for you moving forward at this point. No matter what the past is, you know, at now is all about how do you move forward. And the way forward for some is, it feels very unfavorable because it's nothing close to what they had planned for themselves, or what they anticipated, or what they have been telling themselves, or believing for themselves is possible, or even absolute at this point. Because like I said, these some folks that are in, have ultra egos, which is probably what's taking so long, the deliberation so long as to what to do next. Someone really just not being able to stand the fact that they really don't have too many options, too many good ones anyway, favorable ones. But it's time for something to be closed up, for there to be maybe some new light shed on a situation, on a case, some type of exposure. And that may be the thing also that folks are apprehensive about, is the exposure that comes along with it, regardless of the choice. Like, you choose to cooperate, confess, whatever, and you get exposed. You choose not to, you're still going to get exposed. Because even if you're not found guilty in a court of law, spiritual law prevails, and that stigma of just being accused is going to have, even has like a stench, or it has an aura all its own, or it infects one's aura, especially if someone actually is guilty. You know what I mean? Like that, it'll be for that, the truth of that matter will be fortified by the projection of that guilt. So either way, it's like, somebody would just be better off just telling the truth. It would make things so much better for them, regardless of the nearsightedness of that reality. Yeah, so I don't know. Good luck with that one. Sure can't say how that gets to turn out exactly. I would say is, I don't know. If anyone, for anyone that's deliberating in that regard, I feel like doing the right thing is always the right thing, regardless of the consequences or repercussions. In this season, righteousness is paramount. The consequences are far too great for anything less than that. You can get over what you may face on account of that and be better off to move forward for it than you will be to resist righteousness still, and be thrust into that spirit of persecution and condemnation. That's a hard spirit to carry, especially when you know it's justified. So I would pray people relieve their own hearts and minds of such before it becomes more burdensome to have to manage, on the other side of it. But I'll leave that there. Thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.